Hey guys, welcome back to another action figure review. Today we're checking out one of Snail Shell's earlier figures, and a figure I've been wanting to pick up for a while now, TAPIGAL Milk T, or more commonly known as Milk T Girl. The front of the box features an open window displaying the figure and some of the accessories, a holographic rainbow text in Japanese reading Milk T, and a picture of the figure itself. Over at the back of the box we have more information on the accessories she comes with, including pictures of her pre-built weapons, a small image of the actual weapons in their sprues, and the Snail Shell official sticker is on the back of the box, as well as more warnings and links to social media. The sides of the box display pictures of Milk T in different poses, and the bottom features a nice drawing of Milk T, although this might be an earlier concept as the white tattoos and her hair are different than on the rest of the images. Opening at the bottom, you can grab the entire tray and slide it out, revealing the figure and the accessory box underneath the tray. And like other Snail Shell releases, we do have the figure packed in a small bag to protect it during shipment. TAPIGAL Milk T was one of Snail Shell's earlier figures released, originally releasing in October of 2022. As a hybrid figure of both a complete figure and accessories that are packed in the model kit style, where you would have to build them yourself, TAPIGAL Milk T was a unique release Snail Shell tested the market with, and we can assume that the feedback wasn't too great as they have yet to release another model kit in the same style. The character itself has a cyberpunk and beach summer theme, using her Milk Tea weapons named Pleasant Urban Stress Relief Weapon. We can only assume they were used to dispense an ice cold drink. Other than the alternate recolored version of Milk Tea Girl, there hasn't really been any lore updates on the character, but maybe Snail Shell will look back at older releases like this and give us an updated 2.0 version. Let's take a look at the details of the figure. In a golden brown sun-tanned skin, the first details we notice are the bright blue eyes, in a unique anime style look to the iris, giving it an almost robotic look to the eyes. Brown eyelashes detail the top of the eyes, whereas the thin eyebrows are just a slim tidy line of white hair. The hair is colored in a bright yellow blonde color, cut short, detailed with multiple strands of short hair blades curling around the head. We also have a white collar wrapped around the neck underneath the head. Over on the side we have more tufts of hair randomly spiking downward, and a better look at the gap sculpted here, used to swap faceplates, not as noticeable and hidden within the strands. More strands of hair are detailed in the back, with the hair just above the shoulder. Over at the chest we only have a bikini worn here, white with golden edges matching her tan skin underneath. Up near the sculpted collarbones, we can see two small ports with small black sockets, and underneath her breast another two lines of machinery, giving her body an android robotic look to it. On the back we have the rest of the bikini strap wrap around here, and even more ports dotted on the sides of the spine. If you look closely, we can see small square panels indented into the skin, a very subtle detail that reinforces that android look. The shoulders are extremely thin, and we just have the slightest bit of muscle tone sculpted in before attaching to the single white armband around here, used to hide the bicep joint. The pre-installed hands are in an open palm pose, wearing black gloves reinforced at the knuckle and a bit of a backhand exposed. Looking at the waist, we have a better look at the body tone at the stomach, in an hourglass slim figure type of body. Two small red implants and the navel detail the body. The white bikini is stretched up all the way up to the waist, tightly pulling onto the skin, forming an indent. In this area we can also see a white barcode tattooed onto the skin. On the side we can see the thighs have their own detail of being tightly grabbed by the bikini and leggings. On the backside of the figure, much detail was added to the butt of this area, with the bikini barely covering up the backside, detailed with brown straps, a small barcode and logo on the fabric. More of that skin grabbing tightness is sculpted here around the bikini, with visible separations between the cheeks of the butt. Tight white leggings reach up all the way up to the thighs, laced at the center, and features a few thin lines cut into the sculpt, giving it a cybernetic appearance. We wrap up the details of the figure with the feet. In the bright white that matches the leggings, each toe has its own groove in the sculpt, giving it appearance of a thin cloth rather than actual shoes. Let's check out the articulation. First off, the head can rock back and forth, with the hair not getting in the way at all, but we still have minimal downward and upward motion, and you can bob the head side to side. The shoulders open up straight out, and then you can fully rotate them. The bicep joints here rotate and are cleverly hidden by the sculpting. We have an extremely tight angle on the double jointed elbows, allowing a very tight pose. Wrists that rotate and, depending on the orientation of the joint, bend up and down. Now we do have a joint at the chest. Unfortunately or fortunately, the breasts are so large and the body is sculpted around them that you'll get very little range here. Almost every single angle you can bend in will eventually hit the sculpting. Now we will notice that there is no waist joint, it's just one solid piece. A few snail shell figures are designed like this, but as we will see, the butt plate style of the sculpting is what gets into the way. The legs do open up with great range, as it has similar joints to other snail shell figures, and bends forward as well, but that butt plate at the back is going to restrict all backwards motion. We have thighs that rotate, and like the biceps on the figure, can easily be detached. Double jointed knees like the elbows have excellent range, especially if you tinker with the joint to get different levels of tightness. And finally, we have ankles that rotate, twist, and bend up and down, and a toe that bends up. Officially listed as a 1/12 scale figure, Milk T Girl reaches up to 5.9 inches or just about 15 centimeters. This is great, as a lot of the time 1/12 scale figures are just 6 inches in height. So it's nice to have some actual realistic height in these figures, rather than everything be 6 inches. Next to a Figma Darkness, Milk T Girl fits in very well. Almost the exact same height, you can tell the body proportions are slightly bigger on Milk T, but not anything that would make them look weird on the same shelf. Hasbro's 1/12 scale usually has everything scaled up to 6 inches, and a bit more bulkier. But still, Milk T looks fine compared to this American style of figures, and just being slightly under 6 inches really does work well here. Jada Toys runs in the 1/12 scale, but pays more attention to the actual character's height. With Cammy being much smaller, it matches up well in these figures. Ryu being slightly taller and more muscular body fits in just as well. In case you wanted something more sci-fi for Milk T Girl, Cosmic Legions are on the larger size of the 1/12 scale, thanks to all that bulky armor. Milk T really does look smaller here, but acceptable on the smaller 2.0 bodies of Cosmic Legions. First up, the box that all of the accessories come in has dotted cuts to use as a diorama background. Inside, we have the rest of the accessories packed in. A quick look at the flyer shows us the up-and-coming figures and Milk T with some more social media links. We have instructions for the figure, including the recommended tools to build the accessories, and the packet of sprues to build all the guns. We have a bag of decals for the weapons and some very tiny stickers. We have an alternate faceplate in the more optimistic smiling look with a bit of tongue sticking out. Here we can compare the differences, and if you're familiar with the head swaps on import figures, we know how easy the process is. You just remove the hair and swap in the faceplates. And just how Snail Shell made eye posing popular, this figure is no different with the eye tool. While this tool is much slimmer than the newer releases, it still works the same way at reposing the eyes. We have an alternate pair of feet that look and function entirely the same as the originals, but with sockets at the bottom. Those feet are intended to use with the flat plate stand, and we notice that this stand has no claws. We have a set of hands in a trigger finger pose, and another set in a full gripping pose. We have an illustration on a piece of high quality cardboard, also known as a shikishi, displaying Milk T in anime form with the red foil kiss stamped on top. The back has a few social media links. And we have a small bag with extra wrist joints and another eye tool. Not included with the figure but sold at the same time was the optional high visibility yellow jacket with a working zipper and the few Snail Shell logos all over it. Metal wiring is on the hood for posing, with the jacket made out of a plastic type of cloth. TAPIGAL Milk T is a great figure, and a good look into the early days of Snail Shell. It's good to know that the quality has always been there from the start. The joints feel good, and has the same feeling that we've come to expect out of Snail Shell. Reviewing an earlier released figure can tell you how much Snail Shell has improved over the years. While the changes aren't that major, you can tell that Milk T Girl had her design prioritized over the function, as areas like the chest and the butt limit range and articulation. And while some of the newer figures still have this problem, there have been improvements in those areas. I bought this figure used as it's pretty hard to find new and at a decent price. I was lucky in getting it bundled with the optional jacket accessory. Personally, I've never been a fan of Snail Shell releasing accessories on their own, as I feel like the clothing is such a huge part of the theme of the characters. Even with Milk T Girl, I feel like they should have just charged more and included it. But they are really nice to have, so I can see why people keep on buying them. Speaking of accessories, I did get this figure used and it was no surprise to see that the weapons were not built. At first I was going to build them, and then I saw the decal sheet. I don't know about that one, it feels like a nightmare that I'll tackle later on, guys. The alternate hands are soft enough to hold on to 1/12 scale weapons, so it's not that big of a deal if you want a poser with guns. A very photogenic hybrid of sexy beach and cyberpunk themes, she doesn't look too far off in what you expect to see in the cyber future. It doesn't necessarily have to be a beach figure, especially with the optional jacket, she fits in the city theme as well. One thing that still hasn't changed is the amount of faceplates that Snail Shell gives us. Especially on Milk T, where both faces are just a pleasant smile, there's not much variety you're going to get out of these similar faceplates. At least the eyes are posable, but that only changes the expression so much. A great looking figure, Milk T is more than just a blank body in a swimsuit figure. She has a lot of character, the details are very unique, and it's a look that's not really offered in other figures, especially that blonde and tanned look. If you're just being introduced into Snail Shell and wondering if the older figures live up to the reputation of the latest releases, I would definitely recommend hunting down the older figures. And while Snail Shell is still a relatively new company, in my opinion they have proven themselves a great company with great quality figures. I wouldn't be too worried about blindly going into any of their figures, as even their old earlier stuff like Milk T poses great, and more importantly looks great like all the other releases. These figures are very pleasant to look at, but they're also durable and not as fragile. They're fun to keep on the desk and pose over and over. While 3 years isn't that much time for figures, even though I have the original Milk T now, I would hope we would get a 2.0 version of this figure. Maybe leaning more into that cyberpunk theme. I feel like this character they haven't really explored much of yet. Overall, she's still a great figure years later, and I'm glad to finally have her in my collection. And knowing now, I definitely would spend the extra bit of money to get the clothing as well. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.